It flipped overnight. One minute you're in, next minute you're ghosted. Meghan Markle just got iced out, and not by some randoms. Serena Williams, her ride or die for years, left her name off the list for a private Lake Coast getaway. No invite, no warning, just silence. After all the red carpets, interviews, and bestie moments, gone, like it never happened. In this world, loyalty expires faster than a trending tweet. And Meghan, she just got left on red by royalty. This wasn't a slip-up, it was surgical. Sources say the Lake Coast trip wasn't some casual girls' weekend. It was a curated circle, hand-picked, tight, zero noise allowed, power players only, and drama stayed at the gate. Emma Thynn was there, the Marchioness of Bath, the one who moves through high society like royalty born. No scandals, no headlines, just grace and legacy. She's what Meghan tried to be, but never nailed. While Meghan's name screams controversy, Emma whispers elegance. And yeah, everyone noticed that contrast loud and clear. Meghan didn't just sit back, she reached out, hit up Serena, tried the others, dropped voice notes, tried to get in. But what came back? Nothing. Or worse, those fake nice brush-offs that say everything without saying a word. The trip was super intimate, they claimed. Translation, you're not wanted. In Hollywood, they don't unfriend you. They freeze you out, clean and quiet, and then came the line that twisted the knife. One of the women, mid-planning, tossed out a joke. You can't party with us. Said it with a laugh. But when that joke slipped into the press, it landed like a slap. Because this wasn't schoolyard drama, it was a coded dismissal from the most exclusive table in the game, where Hollywood glamour meets royal legacy. And they just told Meghan, you don't belong here anymore. The fall didn't happen in a moment. It was a gradual unraveling, unnoticed until it was too late. Once, Meghan was part of a close-knit circle with Serena and other powerful women, but slowly, her voice took over every conversation. A friend shared a win. Meghan turned it into a story of being sidelined. Another made a milestone. Meghan turned the spotlight on herself, painting every success as a battle for women of color. Eventually, it became too much. The group chat shut down. A new one started, and Meghan was nowhere to be found. Behind closed doors, Serena's patience was wearing thin. It wasn't one explosive moment. It was the quiet exhaustion of always having to defend Meghan. Slowly, Serena began to distance herself. She had her own empire to build, her own life to focus on. Motherhood, business, fashion. She didn't have room for another headline chasing drama. One of Serena's partners made it clear, if Meghan's coming, you can kiss discretion goodbye. That statement landed deep, and it wasn't forgotten. The women at Lake Coast weren't looking for chaos. They craved peace. The kind of quiet that comes with wine, memories, and a few intimate photos, not another Daily Mail story. But Meghan? She learned of the trip through hushed tones, through conversations where her name wasn't even a whisper. It was a cruel twist for someone who built her entire identity around the idea of empowerment and inclusion. The very women she once called her circle, they were quietly stepping away. This wasn't petty, it was a hard reset, a line drawn in the sand. Hollywood doesn't revolve around red carpets and paparazzi flashes. It's a ruthless chessboard, and every move has consequences. Meghan once stood at the top, a queen in her own right, navigating chaos with elegance, a fairy tale wedding, and the world at her feet. But something shifted. The story that once inspired now started echoing with the same worn-out tune. Grit and grace, but now just sounding like a broken record. Endless legal battles, Netflix rants, Spotify chaos, headlines that never stopped. What was once sympathy, now it was just weariness. The very industry that once lifted her, it started backing away, not with a bang, but a whisper. No dramatic exit, just silence. In Hollywood, that's how it happens. They don't fire you, they simply stop calling. Insiders say it's Meghan's obsession with controlling the narrative. Everything had to revolve around her struggle. Every podcast, every interview, every release, always echoing the same tired theme. Misunderstood, mistreated, misrepresented. For a while it worked. Meghan's voice was loud, it was heard, and people listened. But over time, the novelty wore off. Executives started craving fresh concepts, not recycled grievances. Producers wanted gripping stories, not endless soapbox rants. Even her own team started crumbling under the weight of her constant need to control every little detail. Take her Netflix deal, for instance. Initially hailed as groundbreaking, personal, bold, impactful. But behind the glamour, whispers of creative clashes and power struggles grew louder. Projects quietly disappeared, scripts tossed aside for being too inward-focused. One insider reportedly said, "She doesn't know how to make it about the audience. It's always about her." That was brutal feedback. And in an industry where connection and relatability rule, it spelled disaster for creative trust. It's not just Hollywood turning its back. The circle she once had from her royal days, it's dissolving. Oprah, Gayle, Tyler Perry, names that once felt like unwavering support, are now distant, polite, but detached. A few kind words in public, but the gap is unmistakable. No one's rushing to jump on Meghan's next project. The fear isn't about scandal, it's about their own brand being tainted by association. With every move Meghan makes dissected by the media, aligning with her is becoming a gamble. In stark contrast, Emma Thynn is playing the long game, quietly. No chasing headlines, no Netflix specials, no rebranding. That's the secret. She doesn't need to. Emma moves with purpose, choosing philanthropy, elegance, and authenticity over viral moments. And somehow she's become the it woman. Powerful, poised, drama-free. The contrast is impossible to ignore. Both Emma and Meghan broke barriers, but the way they did it, night and day. Emma embraced her heritage, seamlessly blending into aristocratic circles. Meghan, she turned every room into a battleground. One earned respect with grace, the other demanded it loudly. And now, one is invited to Lake Como, and the other left behind. It's not just Serena pulling away. One Hollywood executive reportedly called Meghan a walking press release. Another described her meetings as draining. Too many handlers, too much spin, not enough substance. That kind of reputation doesn't just ruin deals, it locks doors that stay sealed. People want authenticity, something real. But Meghan, she's too wrapped up in her perfectly crafted victimhood to offer any of it. In a world where connections determine your future, Meghan's losing the one thing she always thought she could control: access. It's not about hatred, it's about fatigue. And when people get tired, they don't fight, they walk away. Meghan's entire identity was built on being the outsider who broke in, the American actress who married royalty and reshaped the narrative of what a princess could be. For a while, that story was powerful, bold, emotional, defiant, a beacon for anyone who ever felt left behind. But somewhere that underdog tale began to shift. It's no longer inspiring, it's a warning. The very headlines that once celebrated Meghan's bravery now resonate with criticism. And it's not just the tabloids. Her closest allies, the ones who once cheered her on, are silently retreating. The truth? Meghan's presence has become synonymous with chaos. She doesn't just attract attention, she pulls it in like a violent storm. Lawsuits, exposés, tell-all interviews, there's no end. And for people like Serena, who are stepping into a calmer, more refined chapter of life, that chaos, it's no longer worth the cost. When you're building something lasting, empires in finance, wellness, and family, drama is a risk they can't afford. The trip to Lake Co wasn't just about relaxation, it was a test. And Meghan didn't pass. A source close to Serena put it bluntly. Serena's in her peace era. Meghan isn't. Serena's peace includes private yachts, business meetings over brunch, understated philanthropy, and nights without the chaos of TMZ cameras. It's not about being elitist, it's about being selective. And Serena's selection? It spoke volumes. Emma Thynn, not Meghan Markle, is who you choose when you want calm, grace, and no PR circus. The next morning, just clean, quiet elegance. Emma represents a different kind of power, one that speaks through actions, not words. She doesn't need Oprah or a spotlight to define who she is. Her reputation and grace say it all. And that's why people like Serena are choosing her. She's the complete opposite of Meghan. No media circus, no trauma-filled books, just quiet, deliberate legacy building, with the winds of change moving steadily in her direction. Back in Montecito, Meghan's reaction to the snub was a mix of disbelief and calculated PR moves. She reached out to some of the women from the trip, sending texts, voice notes, desperate for answers for any chance to fix things. But the responses? Brief, polite. One even said, "We're trying to keep things really chill right now." That wasn't just a rejection, it was a deliberate freeze-out. The silence? That stung. But what hurt more was the symbolism. Meghan, once the loud voice for empowered women, now finds herself frozen out by the women she thought were her allies.
More often than not, they feel some sense of imposter syndrome.
Yes, and even if you're making it up as you go along, as you say, which I think, true, most people are doing that, imposter syndrome is when you're posturing as though you know everything. You don't need to posture as though you know everything. It is perfectly okay for me to take this opportunity to grow, to have exponentially more SKUs as well as more inventory. And that's what we've been doing. We went right back to making sure we could scale up to that level.
Yeah.
It's not pettiness, it's a matter of boundaries. For so long, she believed that visibility alone could carry her. But visibility without vulnerability, without the humility to share the space, has a short expiration date. In the eyes of the elite, being exhausted is far worse than being wrong. Meghan's inability to exist without dominating has cost her more than she realizes. What could have been lifelong relationships burned out in just a few years. As Meghan's circle shrinks, her every move feels more and more desperate. New podcasts, vague charity launches, stage photo ops, yet none of it sticks. The more she grasps for relevance, the louder the silence around her becomes. Emma's rise isn't just about grace. It's a reflection of what Meghan could have been if she had chosen quiet strength over loud resistance. The real heartbreak? It's not about being excluded from a trip. It's about watching herself become a guest in a world she once believed she owned. No matter how many speeches or documentaries she curates, it won't change a thing because she is now living in a world of her own. If you're still here, you want more. Be my MVP and hit the like button. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. Drop your thoughts below. The conversation is just heating up.